There it is. Oh! Hey, you beautiful buccaneers, Falcore here. So, lots of new things have been added to the game in Seasons, and I'm sure the majority of you are enjoying it. However, there are some changes that have seemingly passed right under people's noses. Now, I'm not sure whether it's intentional or not, or maybe a mistake, but whenever an update is on the horizon, the world changes. Islands sometimes get bigger or smaller, or new structures appear. Most of the time it's obvious, like the introduction to Reaper's Hideout, but other times it's not so obvious, and often goes unnoticed by most players. For those of us who have not noticed it, outposts are changing. Here we are at Ancient Spire before the Seasons update. And here we are in the Seasons update. Take note of the new stairs leading us down to this area. Now, these areas are present on every outpost apart from Morrow's Peak, and they all have this sort of turtle-shaped smudge on the floor. The last time we saw a marking on the floor like this was just before the release of Cursed Sails, which turned out to be the placeholder for these skeleton totems. So it's pretty obvious that the developers are foreshadowing something new coming to all of the outposts very soon. Ancient Spire, however, has always had this large sandy area here, but for example, outposts like Sanctuary now have an extended area that was merely just water before. Also, the Reaper's faction hideout table has been moved to behind this store, so whatever is being planned, it's certainly going to be a lot larger than a skeleton totem, possibly a new faction. If it was going to be a new faction, there are a few options as to what it could be. The Twisted Knives could make an appearance. The Twisted Knives are a mercenary faction that will do anything for the right amount of gold, even bounty hunting. They haven't really made an appearance within the game yet, but are talked about in the lore outside of the game quite a lot. It could also perhaps be an extension to the Hunter's Call, with new voyages and maybe even an emissary system. This has been an aspiration of the community for some time, so I could see this potentially being a thing. The Sea Dogs could also be another option. I know the developers have been wanting a way to bring the Sea Dogs faction into adventure mode for some time, and with the retcon of the arena updates, I could see them branching Sea Dogs out in adventure mode to offer PvP events within the seas as a sort of mini ship versus ship voyage system. Or we could perhaps see the introduction of the Grand Maritime Union coming to the Sea of Thieves. The Grand Maritime Union are essentially Rare's version of the East India Trading Company, and in conjunction with a note that Sea of Thieves tweeted out recently, it looks like the Grand Maritime Union may actually be responsible for the sunken merchant vessels. All the representatives of the Merchant Alliance were once members of the Grand Maritime Union at one point, but went rogue to set up their own cash-grabbing scheme here in the Sea of Thieves. So it would make sense if the Grand Maritime Union was here, they would have some serious beef with the merchant faction and would want to disrupt their trade routes. But there is also another hint as to what might be happening. Over at the Lagoon of Whispers, poor Duke has some new dialogue alongside his new friend Umbra. He was evicted from his job as a representative for the Bilge Rats by Larina, and has spent most of his time chilling on this splat of sand. But in this update, it appears Duke is having aspirations of setting sail into the vast seas once again. Could we perhaps see an entirely new faction with Duke at its core? Our lovable Duke coming back to all the outposts with more adventures for us to take part in. I'm not sure what a faction like this would represent, but maybe we'll find that Duke aligns himself with the Grand Maritime Union and becomes their spokesperson. I mean, his name is Duke, after all. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. What do you think these new areas are all about? Leave your comments down below. And until next time,